Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting? Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, do I hear approval?
So moved.
Been moved by Cale.
Second.
Second by Derek. All in favor? Approved. Consent agenda. We need permission for clerk to pay insurance at time of billing, to pay utilities at time of billing, to pay utility incentive before the 25th of the month, to pay theater bills when due, and to pay payment service network bills when due.
So moved.
Been moved by Derek.
Second.
Second by Cale. All in favor? Approved. Okay, now we will go into executive session. Probably, 10 minutes? I would think 10 minutes would do it.
For what?
How do we want
Is it
to word that?
non-elected personnel?
Non-elected personnel.
For personnel issues?
Yes. So will somebody make that motion?
Let's see. Can I do it?
Go for it.
Let's see. I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel for personnel issues. Resuming at what? What's it say? I got a glare.
Like 7:12?
7:12.
Yeah.
With
council, the library board, I guess everyone present, yes?
I don't need to be in here.
Okay.
So council, library board, and attorney?
Good. Lauren, yes.
Okay.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Derek.
There's a bunch of emails in there too that you may or may not have seen.
Thank you.
Everybody needs to destroy this after they've read it,
Okay.
so it don't get out.
Well, it's all in the library.
It's in the library minutes and stuff?
Yeah. Well, emails may not be, but they're
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Pete.
Yep, thank you.
And you want us to write that single name of the secretary?
Yes. I think that then Kelly says she would get some right on it.
Yeah.
So Kelly's going to write something up.
Yeah, okay, well,
Okay.
thank you. Guys, have a good one.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move Lauren up. She needs to move up so she doesn't have to be around for everything else. So I'll move Lauren up right now.
Okay. I've reviewed the street project contract. I have a couple clarification questions that I am going to be getting in touch with them. I was out of the office, out of the state all last week. So I have taken a look, but I do have a couple questions for Miller and Associates before I go ahead and say let's sign it. I will look into that. I have spoken with, as I said last time, I've spoken with Jeter Law Firm regarding the access road. They are still going to be taking a look at that, at the documents that we have here. He needs to do some deed research, and he was anticipating getting that done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That would have been either last week or this week. I have it marked on my agenda to follow up with him next Wednesday so I can have a report at the following meeting. I told him we kind of expected monthly updates of where he was so we can keep the ball rolling on this because it's been a long time coming, and now that it's out ahead, we need to go forward. I still haven't been able to effectuate service on Tommy Paulson for the property cleanup, so until I can do that, I can't move forward with that property cleanup. JR, we had a continuance on Larry Zweiger's property because he was going to be painting. I think that was the only thing. He hasn't
It's incomplete.
It's incomplete.
It's incomplete as of right now. I will give you something on the morning of the 19th. Is that when your court date is?
It's on, yeah, it's on next Wednesday.
Okay, so
Next
something
Wednesday,
that
yeah.
morning in case there's some change, but there hasn't been. at this point.
Okay. If there hasn't been, I need you to be, I think it's set for bench trial, so if it hasn't been done, I need you here to I need you here at city court at 1:30 to testify. So, yeah, if you would make yourself available, please, thank you. We've had several municipal court cases. They seem to be getting resolved by plea agreements or diversion agreements. So I don't think that there's too much going on there. Lila had sent me an email regarding addressing who is applying for the insurance.
Oh, yeah, I had that on my quick report there.
Do you want to give a brief overview of that?
Sure. I got a call from Cindy Burr because she's going to be doing the alcohol for the alumni. And she wanted clarification on who really should be getting the insurance for the liquor liability. And so what we have always done, and I look back through all of our past special events, it's always been the person who was the vendor for the liquor that got the whole insurance, the liability and everything. You know, they would get a general liability policy with a liquor endorsement. So I called Kelly Fruin, and we had quite a pretty good conversation about it. And what he said was it's really two separate things. If the event's going to have a liquor, somebody selling liquor, the vendor who's profiting from the sales is the one that needs to have a standalone liquor liability policy for them with the city as an additional insured. And that covers everybody. That covers the vendor and the city for any claims that are derived from any alcohol-related instances. Aside from that, you look at the event itself and decide, is there any risk involved with the event? Like the alumni? Probably not. But that would be for the council to decide, and that would be a separate policy that the event would need to get, just a general liability special event policy based on the risk of the event without the alcohol being considered. Does that make sense? Because I think the Motorcycle Museum last year was double insured with general liability insurance. Because they had one company that had general liability, and then we had Riverside that had general liability and the liquor liability. Is that what you found when you were?
I don't know that there's a delineation when I took a look at what we require as far as liability and to who needs to have it. We don't have it specified. We need to. I mean, the event organizer is responsible for guaranteeing that it will be there if we're going to approve the liquor, but they have to. But we don't have it defined who must do what. And so if we want to define that, we need to take a look at it from a standpoint. But I don't disagree with Kelly's assessment. I guess I would caution about a general liability if there's going to be liquor there.
That's what he said. They have to have a liquor liability policy.
Right.
It's liquor that's going to be served.
Right, but when I'm saying a general liability policy, because you had said that he had said the vendor would get a liquor liability policy, and that the vendor would get a liquor liability policy, and then we would look at the event without liquor liability and see if the event required a general liability policy. So I guess I would caution that if there's going to be liquor, I understand there's a liquor liability policy. Mm-hmm. We may also want to have a general liability policy because liquor liability stems from anything relating to alcohol. Right. Someone's been drinking. They insult someone who has not been drinking. The person who's not been drinking hauls off and hits the person. Does that stem from alcohol consumption? The person had been drinking. Is that what initiated that behavior? The person who initiated the fight hadn't been drinking. So was it truly initiated? I mean, it was just words until the person who hadn't been drinking took a swing. Is what stems from that liability there? The person who has been drinking now sues the event, the person who hit them, the event, the city. I mean, spaghetti theory, you name all possible defendants, and then the ones that get to be excused get to be excused. I mean, I guess when there's liquor involved, there's the potential for it to escalate more so than it would if there was not alcohol involved. So I guess because we don't have that definition of what actually is going to be covered by that or what is not going to be covered in that, I would suggest that any event that's going to be serving liquor, the vendor is required to have a liquor liability policy, and the event organizer is still required to have a general liability policy. And if they want to negotiate, I don't care if the vendor gets the general liability for the whole thing. I don't care if they want to negotiate that with the vendor, but I would suggest that at any event where alcohol is being served, we require both a liquor liability and a general liability.
And that's what we always have done.
Right. And I would recommend that because, like I said, if someone overindulges and gets belligerent and somebody else just has anger issues and it's the sober person who starts it, I don't know that we can connect that to the liquor liability.
But it shouldn't necessarily be the person that sells, the vendor, the alcohol vendor, shouldn't necessarily be providing all of that.
Right. I mean, and that may be, I mean, we just need to require, I don't think we need to require to specify who needs to provide it. If there's liquor, there needs to be a liquor insurance policy. If there's going to be liquor, there also needs to be a general. I mean, one of the stipulations of a vendor could, for you being a vendor, could be you need to carry the whole policy. I mean, there's multiple places in town with a liquor license. If Fresh Stepping wants the opportunity to profit from this, then they need to do that. Or they can say, no, we're not carrying it, the event organizer needs to carry it, and that's fine. I mean, as far as the city goes, we don't need to say who is required to carry it. We just need proof that that event is going to have a liquor liability and a general liability.
So specifically for the alumni, which is what Carol was calling about, we don't care who gets either one. They can be separate policies.
We don't care
they
who
can
gets
be a
either
combined
one.
policy.
But and I would say, I mean, if we were going to say who needs to do what, I would say if they wanted a definition of who needs to do what, who we're requiring, I would say the vendor serving alcohol needs a liquor liability. You're hosting an event at which you want alcohol, so you need to carry general liability. I mean, I don't particularly care who provides the general liability, but anytime there's that increased factor, I would advise the council to require, I mean, I guess I can't say I would require it, but I would advise the council to require it.
The big thing about, and I know where this is all going to lead to, is the one selling alcohol is going to make enough money to ever pay for the insurance.
Really?
Is it a lot?
Yeah.
Well, then maybe we say that so do we
They'll
require,
run them $1,000 basically
for liquor or for general?
for both of them. And so if the one person's going to buy it all, it's going to go to $1,000.
Really?
Depends where you get it to.
So I was going to say yours
might get
wasn't
it
that
cheaper,
much.
but
There's places that get it cheaper, but
I have done it cheaper before, yes.
we've also had it cheaper somewhere. And then they called up the 2 days before and canceled on it.
But now, like for your situation with the motorcycle thing, where that a bait they have the general liability.
They do have general.
So for your event, we would only need the liquor one.
The liquor one.
Yeah. So it's really a case by case.
When I did Oktoberfest, I bought liquor and general, and it was all in my name for Fresh 7, it would cover everything.
Yes.
The city was still covered,
Yes.
and it was under $400.
I remember
That was that event.
Yes.
So alumni shouldn't be...
Alumni will be better than the motorcycle.
Yeah, it'll be cheaper than the motorcycle thing.
Because when you put the motorcycle in there,
Yeah.
it automatically raises.
Automatically doubles it.
We're not,
Doubles it.
and we're not requiring the vendor the vendor could say we're not doing that. And then if they want alcohol, then the event organizer has to step up. I mean, the negotiations between the vendor and the event organizer are not the city's concern.
Right.
Who's paying for what? We don't really care as long as,
Yeah.
I don't know if the council cares. As far as I'm concerned for the city's coverage, I have no opinion on who's providing. Excuse me. I have no opinion on who's providing it, as long as it's there and the city is covered. So
Also,
I would
CMB,
say,
it's beer, so it's not liquor.
Well, they're
Should be
doing
cheaper.
liquor.
Oh, they're doing liquor
I
too?
think they're doing liquor and not C&B.
Either way.
so, but I mean, I would think we require both, and it's up to them who. And that's up to them, however they want to negotiate with their vendors, who's responsible for what. But in order for us to approve the event, I would advise the council to require, anytime alcohol is being served, a liquor liability and a general liability, just because there's increased risk there, and if it's not technically covered by the liquor liability, there's not a sufficient, in law we would call it not a sufficient nexus.
Something we have to add into our rental agreement.
I mean, right now, it pretty is. It's not specific. It's pretty broad.
It says,
and-
it says that they'll be reviewed by the council, and if
Right.
additional insurance is required, you will be notified. So we can, I don't think it matters who gets it, but for the alumni event, yes, they need to, I would encourage the council to say, I can't make that, but I would think they need to have liquor and general, and it's going to be between them and the vendor who gets it. Who gets it? The vendor could get it, the event organizer could pay for it.
And that's what we've been doing all along.
It is. And the only question I have on that, Joe, you would know this. When you got it, then you listed the event as an additional insured event.
Yeah, every vendor.
Yeah.
And then we would split the cost usually. I would get, let's say, a third of it, and then the rest of the vendors would split up the rest, or we would just split it 2 grand or something. Just have them call. I'll help them out.
Okay.
And like you said, that'll be cheaper than motorcycle.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. I have received photos from Amanda Milne and Kale regarding Lampy's vehicle. Jared, did you have anything you wanted to send me, or am I good to start printing pictures and going ahead? Okay.
Violations are they're obvious.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
need a list.
That one week, he cleared everything off on that
I know.
one street. And I went, oh. But he didn't do anything on Jackson, but he did on the street out front. I thought, hey.
There's plenty to work with on these.
But now it's all come back in again.
Yeah, so I will go ahead and get that sent out. I've received the photographs. I will go ahead and get that sent out.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the attorney report? Moved by Cale, second. Second by David. All in favor? Approved. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Cody, I don't think he's going to be able to make the next meeting from what I understand, so we might have to move his meeting to the first meeting in June. I don't know exactly, but that's what I heard.
I think he's got KLTC training.
Yeah, something coming up, but he wasn't able to come, so we'll have to visit with him and June about what we talked about last meeting. Okay. Do business, okay. You guys are up. You're up. Keaton, Christine.
Well, we had a couple of things, but my neighbor just gave me her letter, so I don't have a copy here. I only have one copy. I don't know if somebody wants to read it.
We'll make some copies.
It's in regards to a pole, a utility pole that's in my neighbor's yard. It apparently was damaged through a windstorm September 2017. 4 years ago. And there's ropes on it. It's in my neighbor's yard, it's right over my fence. And she can't be here because her husband works in Denver and she has 3 children. So she wrote this letter. And it's really a liability. I mean, it can blow down at any minute. It's been like this for 4 years. I've met with JR on a couple of occasions, and at first I was told that couldn't get the equipment in to put a new pole in, it's rotting. And then he said that the equipment, he could get equipment, but it was in Goodland. And then, let's see, and then I think he said it wasn't really the responsibility of the city because it was actually to hold up the telephone line. And I said, and then he said he didn't have the manpower to do anything about it. And seriously, 4 years? 4 years. Somebody's going to get hurt. In fact, the previous owner, it's Carolyn Wattenberg. She has since passed away. When she purchased the home, she was told that the city would take care of it. And I just wanted to see how business is run. Do you have software that when people have concerns, does it go into the system? How does this just go by the wayside after 4 years? And I don't want to be part of a problem. I would like to resolve this.
Some of it's in our plan of what we're doing on reconstructing telephone in the alleys, and it's on the list this year.
That would be in July.
What's that?
That would be in July.
In July.
Okay, so it's not in an alley.
But
It will be, so the pole in the alley has to be police in order to get high enough so it can be eliminated. Replacing it is not a good option, and then the telephone or that communication is what happens.
So you're saying that the pole in the alley will be higher.
Mm-hmm.
So then that pole will eventually be eliminated?
Completely removed instead of replacing a city pole on
Okay.
private property.
Now let me ask you this. So when my husband, Jim, and I bought this house like 11 years ago, and the mast, everybody knows what the mast is for electrical, it was actually below roof line, which is totally illegal, so we hired, what's his name, Wick. He actually extended the mast up above the roof line to make it legal. Now, my concern is running that line from the alley to my roof line. Is that going to be stable enough? Is my mast going to be safe?
Well, part of that is it's your requirement to make sure it is to reach it there. I don't believe it would be as it presently is. That's why we haven't tried to eliminate it, because I don't think we can pull it tight enough without being a problem there. If it's higher, it doesn't have to be near as tight to reach that point, and it should be sufficient at that point. I don't think it would be currently. That's why we've not done it.
Right, but my question is my mast going to be high enough to run from your new pole all the way? Because I don't want to have the weight.
That's why we're raising the pole, but that is a requirement of the owner to make sure they have a sufficient mast to hold the line that goes to the place.
Well, it should be sufficient, right? Because we hired the,
Well, it's sufficient for where the pole is now. I don't know about the weight coming
so
over
how do
from
we,
Allen.
how,
Deal with that when we change the pole, because I don't think it would be tall enough, or, to pull up the alley is not tall enough to eliminate the hole on the private property currently. Once that's raised up.
So we're gonna have to pay for the new mast, and we're gonna have to pay to run home and fuse box and a new mast and everything out of our house.
No,
once the new pole is put in,
no.
it
When the
it
new
would be
pole is put
sufficient?
in, if it's anchored properly like is a requirement, then yes, it should be sufficient.
Is there any way that I can get something in writing when that is done, that will be, I just don't want to be liable for something that,
I guess I'm not sure what you're after. It's the attachment point to the house is a requirement of the owner to be sufficient
Right.
to reach the area.
I get that.
And we're going higher to make sure it's,
But
it
if Ron's
isn't
back-
so tight that it will fail.
If Ron Wick fastened that all in like he should have,
It's in there.
it should be good.
okay, so in July, the pole will be put in.
No, that's when they start their contract this year. They'll be here a couple of months.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's
so,
going to be in July, but that work will be part of what's done this summer.
okay, so a couple of months to me is 2 months. So by September of 2021, we should have a new pole in?
No, the pole in the yard is coming out. They put a new pole in the alley.
The new pole in the alley. That's my question. So
And
by,
it just depends on when they start in July, when they get to that point. So sometime, it'll be a couple months that they're going to be in town working, so when they get to that point, it'll be replaced sometime between July and September. We just don't know which
Okay.
direction they're going.
okay, so my question is, so by September 2021, that new pole in the alley should be installed?
Unless there's some weather conditions that would slow them down from, a year ago, they left to go fight the hurricanes, didn't they? So they pulled out on us and went to help with the people with the hurricanes, then they came back again. So we
Okay.
hope they don't do that again.
They're set to do $200,000 worth of work in 2021. There's, the scheduled start date is to coordinate with the street work, which is the end of July, sometime in August, if the street work's done, so we don't have the two main projects going on at the same time. If they were to get pulled off, it'll still be done in 2021. It just may be later, based on what they did, was that last year or 2 years ago, whichever year. They pulled out for emergency work and then came back.
And when you say they, that's who?
Ward Electric out of Longmont, Colorado.
Word?
Ward, W-A-R-D.
Okay. So I don't know if you even want to even read this. I will.
Yeah, we've got copies of it.
I do have photos. You're all welcome to drive by at 2:15 to look at it for now. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that between now and September, nothing happens. Yeah, especially the kids. Got 3 kids. Okay.
Is the old pole an AT&T pole?
But that is the old pole. I don't know how I mean, to be really honest with you. If
You
it's
know-
on private property, it's
Yeah,
those are,
I mean, I have photos of it if you want.
I have one on my property too, so it's AT&T, but it could be.
it's just it's a tiny little thing. They probably put it up by hand to quickly get it, the service
Yeah.
put up that was insufficient before or something, but yeah, I
Yeah.
just despise putting those on private property.
And just show us a question about it. the liability, I would just talk to Ron Wick and say, this is what the city's planning on doing, and hoping to have it in by this day. With what we've done before, we should be good. He usually does really good work.
Yes, that's why we hired him. So, okay, well, I appreciate all this information. Then we have another, basically questions that I kind of wanted answered. So, do you want to talk? So,
My question is down at the Riverwalk. They just recently put up all the new fence and all the new cables. You know, so I used to take my golf cart down there, you know, and drive down there because I can't walk down there anymore. And I used to pick up trash and everything along the way. Now they put up that new fence with the cables, and can't go down there anymore. So my understanding is the city took over the Riverwalk and the pond, and that's all the new rules are in there. So that's not handicap accessible anymore? I mean, just questions on that.
That would be more a question for the board.
For the,
I mean, you know, the improvements were done by the city. Of course, we maintain it.
Yeah.
The board.
part of it is too, we've had a lot of tear up around there with people on four-wheelers and other stuff getting in there and tearing stuff up. So that's another reason why it's fenced off.
Okay.
Where it's made for walkways is what it's made for, you know. It's still handicap accessible, you know, with a wheelchair and that kind of stuff, but to drive a golf cart, it wouldn't be.
But my golf cart doesn't tear anything.
No, I know that, but when we leave something wide enough for your golf cart, the four-wheelers go in there. Every weekend, if you go in the main parking lot, you can see where the kids are in there with their car going around in circles
That
and
brings
stuff
up
up.
that bridge that's down there at the end that crosses over from
Yeah.
Edward. That is not safe. That's not handicap accessible either.
No, it's
Are there
not.
any plans in there to?
That's not, and not all that is made for handicap accessible. Not all of it is. That started out as a Riverwalk.
Right.
How many years ago? 30 years ago?
Long before industry, yeah.
And so not all of it is handicap accessible.
But since the city's kind of annexed that,
So
is it on the list
isn't
to
the
make it
city
handicap
responsible for it, or?
we do some maintaining out there. Keller's own the property and stuff, but we do maintaining out there and stuff. But if we make it handicap accessible, we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars that we don't have.
So the city maintains it, but Keller owns it?
It's on a lease deal, yeah.
Okay, and then, so when the kids go with the ATVs, are there reports made that they're doing damage?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they
Oh,
spray
yeah.
paint stuff, and they tear up.
Yeah,
everything,
they've been painting signs and, yeah. It gets
Tire marks
reported,
all
but
around the
catching them
pond.
is always hard to catch
See them
them.
sliding around corners? Yeah.
Quite often.
Yeah.
So as far as the owner would be responsible for that little bridge. If you maintain it, you have a lease.
That bridge is a makeshift crossing. It was never intended to be anything other than a foot crossing to keep people from having to walk through water.
It's a liability
mean-
now, if somebody can fall off that bridge.
Yeah, that'll be,
Yeah.
well, I guess Keller owns it, so he would be. It's just, it's kind of disheartening because, you know, my husband's disabled and he's a Vietnam vet, and to go down in a golf cart that is so quiet, you wouldn't even know he was there, and to do some duty of picking up trash and helping, you know, beautify that area, and now you go down there and it's like, oops, can't do that. To me, it's a shame. It's sad.
Yeah. I
It's
know
sad
it.
for
I
me.
know it.
It's sad for him.
It is, I know that. But what do we do about the kids that get in there with the four-wheelers and tear up then? There's going to be more of that. than we can ever control. Unless Jim wants to sit out there and watch them 24/7, because we never can catch them.
Well, I'd never catch them in my golf cart.
Well, I know it, but you'd have to somehow get a description of them, turn them in, but it seems like we never catch anybody because they do it usually at night or when nobody's around.
If he's actually volunteering time potentially to help pick up and clean up, why wouldn't it be something that could be a part of the board?
I think
I
it would
still
be.
think that could be something. He could be given access based on the circumstances. It's at
Well,
least
I-
suggestible to them, because that's
Right.
exactly what we need, is
We need
people
that.
spending time
Right.
doing that
That's
kind of
what
stuff.
I
We
thought.
do
As opposed to
appreciate the
just
fact.
walking it, because it's a great place to spend time, but there's not a lot of people that pick stuff up and do things.
Last time I was down there, I filled all the baskets in my golf cart with trash.
Oh, yeah, well, there's always steps to pick up. I agree with that, and so maybe, I mean, we can't probably make it all accessible now because that one bridge down there, yeah, you walk across it and,
Yeah, but if you had the ability to do the maintenance on each side, you go up one side of the
Right.
point, you go down
yeah,
the other side.
you could
of the
drive down
point,
both
Yeah.
sides
maintenance
and
work,
come
you
back and
come
forth.
back.
Yes.
That's exactly what.
That's
we
what
need.
that's what he was doing.
Well, should talk to the board and have them talk about opening up a wide enough spot. that-
Or,
No,
No,
I
or
think we want
just-
to give
you can
access
open
to
and
a
close.
volunteer who's going to do work.
Yeah.
He has
The lost
special
cable,
access.
that he would have the combo to.
This doesn't mean it's open
Right.
to golf
Right.
carts. This means this individual has access to do volunteer work
Yeah,
on the river.
we could do that.
And they would need to clear that, of course. I'm just suggesting that.
no, we were talking about what we could do, and I'm like, well, maybe if there was,
So
You know,
if we had a
cable.
cable across there with a padlock that you had the combination to or a key to it, you could unlock it and go ahead and drive down there and do your public service and help us out and stuff, and then just lock it when you leave.
It's certainly
volunteer
suggestible.
for that.
right, because
Okay.
we wanted to, I mean, we've only been here full-time for 4 years after we retired, but we bought our house like 11 years ago, and we even thought, like 11 years ago, gee, you know, somebody, and it was way different back then at the ponds, oh, this would be great to come down here and pick up,
Right.
you know, pick up trash, but, so where would we go from here to get
Well,
him grandfathered or whatever? you
Larry's
call
not
that?
here tonight, and he's on the park board down there, the Killer Ponds deal. We'll get in touch with Larry and let him know so he can talk to the board, and then we'll get back with you on it.
Okay,
Great suggestion.
Yeah, that would work.
yeah,
Because, yeah, we've been talking about that all along, trying to figure out how to have people help clean up.
I saw a thing in the paper asking for volunteers one time, but
Yeah.
I never called it. I never saw it again, so I thought maybe they found somebody to fill that position.
Well, there's another application that we're gonna plant trees down there. We need somebody to water trees and pull a cart around, and it's gonna involve more work, and they're gonna be paid for that. But just driving around there picking up trash, picking up some limbs, that's great, great. So we'll see if we can figure out a way to get that done.
okay.
That would benefit both of us.
Right. Okay.
And then just one more thing that I know you probably can't help me with, but, okay, I live on the busiest street in town, right on River Street, right? Why is there so much more traffic since
Stratton.
Stratton took it over? Is there a reason? There's just a lot more traffic, no?
River Street's always been a busy street.
I know, but and the speed limit's 30.
Well, it's
35.
30 until it gets about to Spencer, then it should go down to 20. Isn't that right?
I don't think it's posted. If it's not posted, it's 30. I don't think it's posted.
It's, yeah.
I mean, you should be doing 20 for the tips, but I think it's 30 all the way through.
Really?
Because unless it's posted in a city.
I thought we had it posted somewhere. What street do we have posted that?
We have
It's-
a couple, but I don't think.
I've never seen the speed
I don't
limit
think
sign
we
up
would.
there.
I mean, people just,
Yeah. Well, probably, was it on Benton that's got a post on there, 30? Or, I mean, once you get down there ways?
Could be, I don't know, I'm not so used to them, I don't know where they're at, but I don't think.
Yeah, college.
College has it posted,
Yeah.
don't
School and
they? So we
everything.
probably
but-
ought to make sure we have College, Benton, and River Street posted that way, the same. Because once they hit Spencer, if they're still going 30 mile an hour, they're bouncing through there.
Yeah, they do bounce, and when they bounce and they bottom out,
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I yell at them. I'm like, woo, 10 points. No, really, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. I
don't
mean-
know why there's more traffic since Stratton took over.
I don't
but
know.
guess they must be.
I mean, different trucks.
Simply have a lot more product. I think
They've
they're
all
just doing a
stopped
lot
at
more
First Seven
business.
and they're going on.
If you look at,
Maybe they're doing a better job than what the
The other culprit.
I think they are.
the other co-op was doing.
The warehouses are fuller. I think they really are.
They're probably doing a better
Doing
job
more
of
business.
moving products and stuff, so that's.
And then wouldn't Angle Road be like a better,
So there's truck routes in town. Angle Road, of course, is one. River is one. College is one.
Do
From
we-
the highway.
push them to Angle?
We've tried it, it don't work.
So we actually have, so for the elevator here, that is the primary one, Angle Road, but there's no way to enforce a truck route. It is a direct truck route, as is the other two streets. so.
Yeah. It's, again, there's
Well,
kids
of course,
around.
it's Benton Street, because it's a narrow street, and we have a lot of trucks going down it to go out to the Bartlett Crane. And with the cars parked on the side, it is tight all the time, and there's a lot, it's actually shifted a lot of truck traffic from the elevator over to Benton Street, because the co-op actually uses the old Bartlett elevators more than they use their elevators. So it did split it up some at one time.
So should I talk to all my neighbors and have them start parking on the street to slow the traffic down? I'm at a loss. I mean, there's a lot of little kids around there now.
Yeah.
I
know
mean,
their
I
neighbors, yeah.
Pulled one out of the
Pretty
street
low.
the other day.
I think it's no different than any other. If there's a concern brought to the attention of their safety, is talk to the sheriff about enforcing it and put up signs. You shouldn't be doing 30 in that dip at Spencer, even if it's not posted, we post it.
Let's check and see if
I
that's
mean,
posted.
And that's right where I
A
live,
huge
right at River and
percentage.
Spencer, right there. It's
A
like,
huge percentage of that, the people are, just in and out, they're gonna keep doing it. I mean, it's gonna be hard to enforce, but we could put up signs, it might cut down some of it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Talk to
cut out
Cody.
the Jake brakes coming down.
Yeah, they're using the Jake brakes,
These
they're
are
coming
Jake
in
brakes
too fast.
Coming into River?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
moving a little too fast when they're doing that.
That's,
So maybe I could get with Cody and see if there's.
We can mention it to Cody too. We've got some other things, and he couldn't be here, and some other concerns with city stuff, and
Yeah,
we'll mention it to him too.
yeah, because I just don't know what the solution is for that unless
Yeah,
there's one of those little signs that you tell,
yeah.
show people how fast they're going, but I don't know where you.
We'll check into those speed limit signs.
they could
Maybe
be-
it's just on
They
College
might
Street.
be there, I don't know, like I said,
I don't remember
I
seeing
don't,
anything.
I was up there the other day, I don't remember seeing any on that street.
It's either, I could get one, and then when people speed, I can, or get a little man that waves. I don't know, I moved here from a big city, so I don't want to have big city problems. But, okay, well, I appreciate your time,
Okay,
And,
well, thank you.
and then somebody will get back to me about Larry Finley talking, and should I come to the next meeting? Where do I go from here?
I don't know how soon Larry will have a meeting with, of course, he could call a meeting. Well, if you want to come back to the next meeting, we'll try to, in a couple of weeks, we'll try to have an answer for you.
or else just give us some contact information and talk directly to Larry, because he'll know when they're having a meeting.
I've got,
The solution's gonna come by way
Okay.
of that.
Do you want my
I
contact?
should have it from when you called before, but let me write it down again.
720
270-8183.
Okay.
It's Christine Anderson.
Thornton. Anderson Thornton.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for the work you're doing down there.
Thanks for listening.
He's almost walking. It's been a long 6 months.
Someday.
Someday. Okay, ready? See y'all. Bye-bye.
Yeah, be
Bye,
careful.
guys.
We need to send Larry an email about this then.
I can do that.
Okay. That would be pretty decent, and even if there may, hopefully we wouldn't get too many, but there might be 2 or 3 people that would maybe want to do something like that.
But if you set the stage for authorizing this individual to do it, this individual alone
Right.
to be doing this activity,
Right.
and in the event somebody else comes forward and they want to do it, unless there's a compelling reason not to, why would we not want volunteers?
Right. That's
Right.
crazy.
Now,
If
if you
we-
get somebody else that wants to do the same thing and they want to take their golf cart, but they're not disabled, I'm guessing we probably wouldn't do that. I don't know. It depends on whether they're going for a daily cruise because they got permission to be there in case they pick up a piece of tree. You follow what I'm saying?
But if they're wanting to pick up trash, because that'd be the easiest way for them to pick up trash, even if they're not disabled, is if they, because you can take a couple trash cans behind you, as long as they're doing that and just not going for a joyride, then I'd say we would allow, we'd have to be careful not to have 20 of them wanting to do
And I
it.
think that's what I was trying to get at, is trying to figure out a way to, this is the individual who's been allowed to do this. If that's sufficient, then that's sufficient.
Right.
It's not like you have to interview for a volunteer position, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we pray for these kind of people, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
When they were talking about the Jake breaks, some towns, when you go into them, they say, Jake breaks, they have postings, Jake
Yeah.
breaks not allowed.
Not allowed, yeah.
I don't know if that's something we would want to.
It's so obvious. It's a noise thing. You know what I mean? It's so
I know.
weird that people would have the nerve to do that.
It's bad enough when they do it up on the highway,
Oh, I
because you'll
know.
hear them up on the highway,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden they decide, oh, I better get slowed down, and so they do that up there, but my gosh, coming downtown, and if they're going that fast, they start using Jake brakes and stuff, they realize, oh, there's a dip.
That's not good. That's Yeah,
If there's no signs there, we need to get that posted, like,
the 20.
soon.
Yeah,
The 20, but the noise ordinance, that seems so ridiculous. I mean, that's
So if they're going 20, they shouldn't need to
right.
use them, so.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, even through town.
Yeah.
Or, on the highway,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
noise ordinance enforced, yeah.
And
I don't know.
everybody's guilty of driving
Speed
30 mile an hour
fast, yeah.
until they get to Spencer Street.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, it's just, almost you need a sign about a block back from Spencer Street,
Yeah.
20 mile an hour, to start
Or
getting
even
them slowed
further,
down.
there's still a lot of houses there that have kids running around.
Yeah.
So that was my question. I was pondering that. Where exactly does it, because I thought it was 30 miles per hour unless it was posted otherwise. So where, in this regard, where would the 20 miles per hour be deemed necessary?
I would say mid-block before Spencer at a minimum. You would put them up there, slow down, a dip, that's obvious. I would think it would be mid-block right there.
Yeah.
Because they're going to roll in 30 no matter what. That makes sense that you should be slowing down, but then you can see them, you can see a speed sign a half a block to a block away. That's plenty of time to beat at 20 miles per hour by the time you get to the dip, plus you're past the sign, enforceable.
So educate me on this a little bit. So you said if they're going 20, they wouldn't need to use, what kind of, you said Jake brakes?
Yeah, the air brake.
So if they're using the Jake brake, they're obviously going over that, right?
Most likely.
Okay, so if they're going over that, and let's just suppose for the worst case scenario, a child darts out in front of them, will the Jake brake get them stopped in time?
No.
No.
It's just a drag. It's
It's-
a reverse compression engine brake.
On their engine, yeah.
It's not
just
like a
reverse
foot
compression.
brake.
It's just slowing them down. It's slowing them down, but it's not going to stop them.
Okay.
They're going to have to lay on the brakes if they got to get stopped. So, Okay. Next thing is on the new business, the KMIT fleet vehicle policy.
So we had the KMIT representative out here, I think he came out on the 19th and did our safety survey. We got a gold status again, which means we're doing what we need to be doing to try to keep our employees safe. We do safety training, in case you guys don't remember. We do monthly safety training with all the departments. And anyway, this was one thing that he recommended, though, that we have in our safety procedures and policies, is this vehicle policy. And it's just pretty straightforward. It has to do with, not using your phone when you're driving and just basic common sense stuff, but we don't have a...
I'm never going to be able to know anything.
Yeah, don't use your phone while you're driving. Well, you can. I don't know. It's up to you guys if you want us to implement this policy. It was a recommendation. It's not a requirement. If you want time to look at it and decide at the next meeting, that's fine too. I don't think it's prohibiting you from using your phones. They're saying, well, yeah, it is, kind of. It's just encouraging you to pull over to the side of the road when you need to make a phone call.
Pretty straightforward.
I got to quit drinking.
Oh, well, then that's just...
I mean, it's just a policy. It's just a policy. We'll never enforce it.
So it's a policy to have on the books
Yeah.
and to give to the employees and
Right.
make sure everybody has it and they read it, and then you go on.
I don't see anything wrong with being a policy. We're not going to enforce it. We're not going to be jumping on them if they happen to be answering the phone going down the street. But, and I don't know if they always put their seatbelts on when they're going to.
No,
Not in
and we're not going, just to say, we're going point A to point B, it's not, I get the policy, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I never have my seatbelt on here in town, but as soon as I get on the highway, I put it on.
That's what I
the
do.
way I...
I mean, that's just the way I am. And I know you can have an accident here in town, but hopefully it's not bad enough that you're going to be
But any
thrown.
given insurance company is going to say accidents happen more in town and traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? We have traffic.
We don't have traffic like, city traffic, yeah. It's just a policy to have on hand, I don't see. And it probably doesn't hurt the guys to read it, and they'll chuckle at it and go, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. And maybe,
We know we should, though, because we've run across that seatbelt thing before. And it's like, I'm not going to tell you, you have to put on your seatbelt to go from the front of the power plant to the shop, even to the park.
Voice activated.
It doesn't say you can't. It just says every effort should be made to avoid the need to use a mobile device. I kind of felt like it was more of an awareness thing. Just think about this, read it, think about it. And I'm one of those people that I always pull over if I've got to make a phone call or answer my phone, or I just don't answer it. I am one of them. But if you agree, we'll just need a motion to accept the policy for our safety manual. For our safety policies, I should say.
I hear a motion to put the fleet vehicle policy in place. Been made by David. Second by Derek. All in favor? Okay. Next deal is a variance by Amy Barfield.
So I couldn't put this one on a spreadsheet, so we kind of put them like this. You'll see how they line up. It's on Parkway Drive. She wants to put in a in-home daycare is what she'd like to open up. but since it's residential, she'll need a variance to do so. And
Where's she live?
she's out that 404 Parkway.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's one place, yeah, okay. Okay, she was, well, that's, Workhorse, Lincoln's, daughter, Earl's daughter.
Oh. But that was your mom's house, right?
Yeah.
On the corner there, that's what I thought.
Built in 62. 62, 63. Well, as long as she gets, let me see, what do we need to get there? And so Wyatt bought Bill's house. I was wondering who bought it. I didn't know who bought it. Well, she definitely would need to go to the Rileys across the street, the Goose Millers, the Roger Nitzo, Overley. Try that. Sharon Weiss, Weiss, Ford Cassidy, Pete Jensen. Amy Grace isn't going to be there, so I don't know who will be there. At least that many, wouldn't you think? That's the 8 that she would have to talk to. We probably need to have Amy Grace on there too, or be kind of across the alley there, the wall. No alley there anymore.
Really, what is it there?
There used to be an alley there.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it used to be used as an alley. There's no way to get a truck in there now.
I think Amy's leaving.
Yeah, yes, yeah, she's leaving.
Yeah. So maybe they start trying to get
Who's buying the house?
Don't know, it's up for sale.
Other than it gives the person an extra number to come up with the 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if she talked to Amy right now and got the okay from Amy, it might not be the okay from the new person, but we could go put Amy on there then. So Pete Jensen, Ward Cassidy, Sharon Weiss, and then we got Roger Nitzo, Michael Riley's, David Goose Miller, Cole Mobley. Is that far enough that we need to go to Wyatt? I think as long as we get right in the main hub there. Okay.
Okay. I will give her the information.
Okay.
And so will that be approved, I'm sorry, probably motion to approve that pending receipt of the
Yeah.
required signatures?
Yeah, we can do that. We can go ahead and make a motion to approve it if she brings in enough signatures, and then she doesn't have to wait until the next meeting. So do I hear that motion? Moved by Cale.
Second.
Second by David. All in favor? Okay, approved. Okay, old business, property cleanup, start with, anything?
Basically just commence on private property and sell the house. We'll have a court date and in the court.
Okay. Project pending, anything there? Do we know what Larry was talking about when he said Dave Fleming had an idea for the pool?
They had talked about taking one whole side of it out and making it wide enough for a volleyball thing. That was Dave's idea. Why not just tear part of it out and utilize the fence and move it? And so Larry's going to look at in regards to what David measured it out and thought maybe that could be done.
Okay.
David's turn on the thing. I don't think that-
Oh, yeah.
It's okay for them. Yeah, that's something like that would be possible.
Yeah, okay. Anything else on there that we need to? Did everybody get that email from Helen on the Empire Motel property up there, which I know it's going to be, there won't be a sale on that now. Well,
What do you mean?
who's going to put in the motel now? Because the cobblestone was $3 million, it'll be $4 million now.
Oh,
Price of everything that went up.
One, lodging and
There
travel.
will
Two,
not be
price.
anything going in. Even, I don't even see anybody that would buy it to put up a retail business now.
I had somebody ask about putting in like a doggy daycare, dog kennel up there. And I told her, just come and talk to the council with your idea.
I think it should be reserved.
I do
Even if
too.
it's 5 years, it should be reserved for what this town needs, and it needs the motel, as things could change.
Motels first, but if there would be a business that would come in and hire like 12, 15, 20 people, then it's gone.
Because it's not hurting us sitting there right now, is it?
No, other than having to keep it cleaned up and mowed and stuff. Yeah, I think we need to reserve it for something that's going to do some good for the town. It's either a motel or a big enough business that's going to have several employees. Then we could do something with it. But I think if it, I've even heard a guy wanted to put a salon up there and build it big enough that he could rent out things to other people. Well, he's talking 3, maybe 4 people. That to me don't cut it, and I already know that he can't afford it. So I don't even know why he's thinking that, because building costs right now.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Quick question, since we're kind of going down this road. I've heard that the people who own Eldo's in Kobe are going to be opening up a Mexican restaurant in Flatiron. Have I heard right, or is that heard right? Okay.
They doing what?
Opening up Eldo's, the Mexican restaurant in Kobe, the same people are doing that for
They got one in writing.
well,
They were said they was going to be open by the middle of May. I look for it probably be the end of May. Middle of May is this weekend, so unless they really go after it. So, but yeah, we need it. We need a nice restaurant. So
we do.
Okay, street projects. Nothing on that other than January 3rd. Hopefully. Yeah, or July. I just hope really get on this contract. Oil prices going up and stuff.
They should have already contracted that stuff.
I hope they did, because
Yeah,
otherwise people will
they
broke.
do. I had asked that previously, and they contract, I think, a full year ahead.
Good. Okay, we do have a bid here for roadside park bathrooms. It's not on here, but it's in the old business. JR and I went up there and looked at it. We never had anybody contact us. And then also, I had Quentin go up there. He's got a new machine that cleans tile floors. Cleaned it up pretty darn good. So I just right away told JR, he said, if somebody calls him, wants to go up and look at it, we're not painting the floors now. We're going to just clean them. It really did clean them up. Good enough that we just don't want to put paint on it until we have to do that. So,
When did he do that?
last Tuesday or Wednesday, he just went in and did a spot, and it was just unbelievable. Of course, a lot of it's just dirt, and the grout's kind of brown, but it looked clean then. It looked clean. Wow. And he gave me he told me about this, that he was going to give us 2 bids. Okay. So, the bid to do a labor materials, a deep clean, apply a protective coat to the tile, labor materials to power wash everything, take down lights, install dividers, repair sheetrock, ceiling, cracks, paint outside, paint inside, paint doors, $4,350. And this bid, or this isn't really a bid, this is just to let us know. And I think it's a good idea. Like once a year, have him go up there and clean them floors. So he's guessing that once a year, or if we think it needs it more than that, you know, say come fall and they look filthy and dirty. He said usually it'll probably run about $300 to clean them floors with that machine and stuff. I think that's something we need.
Yeah, maybe we should get going to have it done every year before alumni.
Oh, yeah, at least get it done about this time of the year, every year for darn sure. And if we can get clear to October with, and they still look decent, I don't think we need to clean them until the next May. So it might just be a year or two, and he bought this machine, I think, said he's gonna start cleaning the grocery store floors instead of that guy coming in now. So this is just something for our information that, you know, for a maintenance fee. Okay, so, do you hear a motion to approve this project? And go in and JR's gonna put in new lights in there. They're gonna take the lights out and take all that stuff out, but JR's putting in new lights. The lights were rusty, bad, the old orange bulb stuff, so.
I would imagine that's in the ballpark of what y'all are expecting anyway, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I would say, I would have guessed between 3,500 and 4,500. You know, there's quite a bit of labor involved in it and time and stuff, and so.
Yeah, I'll move.
Okay, it's been moved by David. Second by Cale, all in favor? Okay, it's approved.
On that same project, part of this one is to remove the old hardware. That's in reference to the new hardware that Heartland, I talked to him twice today. He made contact, but he didn't get an answer back today. So we're still trying to get that last finish worked out.
Okay, well, I can let him know tomorrow. I'm not going to help him tomorrow, but I'll do it today. I can only work so much. Okay, building permits.
I forgot to have you scan these, sorry. How many I have, I'm just going to pass them around, and they're all signed and all okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
All the way there.
I don't know half the people's names.
Okay.
This is Jose Rodriguez. According to West Emerson. He must be coming in quite a bit of fence. At least he's pretty honest. He says $7,500. Most of them say, oh, 500, 2,000. So. I don't know a lot of these people anymore.
The foam insulation covering my Freon or my central AC on the outside of my house, that helped take a lot of it off. It's okay the way it is until I can get a new foam on there. Just an exposed copper.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Really, the hail took it off, must have been a little bit dry rot. Or
It was already dry, yeah. They've been on there a couple of years.
We did a number on our pool liner. We didn't have it covered. We left the cover open because we were going to clean the pool, and it just tore it up.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the building permits? Moved by Cale, second by Dara, all in favor? Approved. Superintendent report.
So the Dodge police car, there was a motion made for me and approved for me to put that on Purple Wave. I called Dave Fleming, and he said that they went through Western Auction, which is a local outlet that does online auctioning for that equipment. In the meantime, Cody Beeson called me and said Atwood is looking for a police car. So obviously I didn't list it at Purple Wave, didn't list it at the next one because I really honestly think we could come out better on a police car. You know, I think there's a value we can set to it. We paid $20,500 for it when we bought it with 49,000 miles. It's pretty much set up as a police car, lights and everything, and it has 77,000 miles on it. So 18,000 miles is what we put on it. Is that right? 28. Yeah, 28,000. I don't know. I would think it would be, if they're looking for a specific car, my thought was to have them make an offer on it. That you put that out for a bid on a police car. I don't know. They don't bring much, these police cars. This one's, I think there's quite a bit of value in it. And I think if they're looking for that specific car, we can tell them what we paid for it, what the miles were, and see if they'd make an offer that the council would consider. If that's okay.
But so no one maintained it.
It's a 14.
Yeah, I think let's get a hold of them and have them make an offer on it, and then we can always still go back to the other way.
Sure.
We'll come out better this way.
I believe so. And book bags on those. It's a police package car. There's not really, it's kind of hard to put a police value on it. It's obviously partially set up, so we'll go that route. I asked Lila to put in an advertisement for full-time recycling. You might see that in the paper. I would like very much to move another person into that and move Bill on forward. I don't know. It's just a matter of seeing if we can get the right applicant to give it a try. I'm also interested in possibly as part of that or at a later time doing the part-time recycle for the weekends. That burden is just really a lot over the weekend. It just is. The on-call person spends quite a few hours up there, and it's still Monday mornings, kind of a nightmare. So I'd like to find a better solution for that. In reference to the recycle center cameras, I never did hear back from Jason Padgett. However, I was talking to Eric Harper, and the county has Nextech install and support all of their security systems. I don't want to use what we currently have, like using it for planning stuff. They're problematic. The cameras quit. I think I'd like to get at least a quote to consider a system that could then be supported. You know, the mess we've had at the museum, trying to keep it, at different times problematic. I want support for it. It's something we definitely want to have there. And I was trying to piece something together and was almost going to buy something today, but after talking to Eric, I think I'd rather go that route than we have to do it. Then
Let's find out.
obviously going to be probably more expensive, but with support and the right equipment, maybe it'll be a little more reliable.
Is it possible to also get cameras for the grass cutting?
Absolutely. And I'm actually thinking about...
I'm amazed every time I go up there what people dump up there. It's unreal.
Well, when our recycle's getting out of control with styrofoam, we're getting dumped on. I mean, and it's rude. It's a daily occurrence. It's not just the Facebook thing that you hear about at the table over the weekend or whatever. It's daily. And it's like it's blatant when somebody goes up there. And it's really pathetic because most people are really good, want to do the service, trying to do the right thing, and other people just use it as a dumping ground. So I really look forward to getting it under surveillance. But I also thought that trailer park there for just a distance camera for anything going on over in that area. And then, of course,
Even some signs that right now tell you get what you want. bio you on camera or whatever, just,
Yeah.
that might dissuade some.
That's what we have talked about too. It probably will shut down 90% of that,
Yeah.
except for the person who just didn't see the sign or the new things. But I plan on putting up, you are under surveillance.
Yeah.
We want people to know I don't want to charge people. I want them to quit acting that way. And when I say people, I want to be very clear. This is less than 1% of people that make a huge mess for us. Most people are really good. You catch people up there sorting the trash out, trying to help us out. It's just kind of a
Yeah, but
mess.
sometimes they don't throw it back in.
Yeah. So anyway, KDHE did a water inspection on our water and wastewater systems. They're going to have recommendations. They always do. They do a pretty thorough check of our records. Water emergency plan, go to actually the wells, booster station, sewer pond, do the whole thing. So there will be some recommendations coming our way based on that inspection. I have an estimate for a small lawn tractor. It's the one we use for spraying. The one we have is just getting to be problematic. We've kept it probably too long, but these little tractors are relatively cheap. It's just a little rinky-dink John Deere mowers. It's $2,350 for a replacement. And that's one we use to pull the, it's circled on there, to pull the sprayer on the islands and around in the parks and stuff.
Who's that from, out here, John Deere then?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that what works the best, just a little
It is.
tractor like that?
We have a sprayer in the other mule for spot spraying and stuff. When you're covering large areas with the boom, it's about all it does get used for. They do use it for the plugger also, a little weighted plugger that we run through the park to aerate the grass. But it gets used quite a bit. I mean, that one we have is, I'm not even sure. I mean, I just know it's become problematic. It's probably 15 years old at least.
Okay, do I hear a motion to purchase the John Deere tractor for, I don't remember now, 2,300 something?
2350.
2,250. Moved by David and seconded by Derek. All in favor? Approved.
Our first recycle has gone out to the county dump as far as the paper and the glass. What we found out is they do want the glass, but the paper not so much. They don't need that kind of quantity. So I'm in the process, because there is weight to that, and we do collect a fair amount of it. We can haul it to Stutzman, but it's just extra tonnage. It doesn't harm the landfill because it breaks down. It's like some of the other stuff. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of room, but it does have weight to it as far as paying per ton to basically dispose of Stutzman. So we may end up taking it to the dump, but the original intent was to use it for cover. They don't need near as much as we're producing, so we'll get that figured out. We have started compacting it into the trash truck, so we are, other than getting some Gaylords returned and some of the totes from the recycle center in Colby, we're pretty much done with them at this point, just like we want it to be.
Putting that in the truck, how much can you get in there?
That's what we're experimenting with. Each one's different, those compaction levels, like those ones that our contractor, Hill Trash Service, uses compact quite a bit more than this one does. This is a 20-yard. The one that Colby uses is a 24-yard, and they get 9 tons on theirs. A little under, up the high side is 9 tons, so I would hope to get 7.5 to 8. That's what we're hoping for. But we don't know how many Gaylords to expect to be able to put in, so we know when to go doing the compacting, so we don't want to leave the dumpster or the trash truck sitting up there. That's just going to attract those our 1%ers. So, but anyway, we should be, other than, like I said, other than a little bit of material return, we should be pretty much done with Colby. Sunoco, which we still wants the cardboard and owns the compactors, the balers that we have, is now wanting to sell those. This should be a county purchase, I would presume. I don't know that for sure, but it should be part of that return on the money from the breaking up of the thing over there. But the cost is only $1,000 a baler. I would think at that rate, I'm going to suggest we get extra ones. They just don't want to service them. Technicians came out anyway, so it's probably a better deal. So we're still working with that contract with Sunoco on the cardboard, because we do want to keep the balers. If you buy those new, they're $14,000, $17,000 each. So we'll hope we get 3 or 4 of those to run the recycle center. I've talked about this quite a bit. COVID showed up, never have followed up on it. Really need to follow up on it, is the water control system. I talked to Chris Miller today, and I'm going to have him write a spec as to what exactly we want for soft start, remote meter reading, remote control on the booster stations, variable drive that's on the pumps. It's quite an upgrade. Lila and I was just talking about this. I think we may be able to use some of that free money that's coming our way from the coronavirus for this. If not, there's other avenues. There's actually grants that the application date, just happened to talk to Chris today, but the deadline is to apply for this is in June. The big issue with us in applying for grants on water is our water rate. Scott may remember they got laughed out at Topeka one time trying to apply for grant money because of our water rate. It won't pay for anything. We've got to correct that. We've got to get started in this utility rate comparison. That's going to be a primary target. Our water is a third of what some communities are paying for water. And even worse, they attach that water to the sewer rates. So I'm not trying to raise revenue. It needs to pay for itself, the water system. That's really the primary target, that and the trash, as far as that's concerned. But he's probably going to go ahead and throw in some kind of application to them that may motivate us to move that rate a little sooner rather than later. I don't know that we want to jump a tremendous amount at a time, but have a schedule of raising it to a state average so we can get funding. We've got water projects we need to do, but you can't reach the funding if your rate doesn't finance it. Looking a little further down the road, 10, 15, 30 years, I don't know, but that water tower's got to go. Huge project. I mean, it's there. We actually have a solution. What we don't have is a monetary plan. So we're going to start with an inspection of the tower and the reservoir, but there should be a plan in place that the revenue is set up to build a reserve to get that tank moved all the way out to well house 6. It would then be a gravity-fed tank, and this one would not be relevant at all. It would completely eliminate the outrageously high-dollar million-gallon reservoir that we have up at the airport. It's almost strange they wouldn't have done this many years ago when they did that, and just make it a pressure line all the way from town, because then power, no power, you have water pressure all the time, because it's gravity-fed out of the million-gallon instead of pumps supplying the system and using the tank as a valve. So trying to expand the water project, the water rate, into a realistic, long after I'm gone kind of plan, because it's going to get somebody someday, whether I'm still here or we're still here. The city needs a long-term plan. That's going to be expensive. It's a lot like the electric. Now that we're on a path and we're setting that money aside, the other things are even going to more have to pay their own way for these improvements. Because you come up with a multi-million-dollar project because something failed, we failed to plan. And that's what I'm trying to avoid with that.
We've talked about this every year I've been on here, that why don't we every year pump it? You know, 0.5% every year, pump it so they don't see it.
Right.
And then we wait, and then, oh, well, we got to raise it. You know, like when we did the sewer deal, sewer pumps back then, when they laughed at us about that too. Well, we raised that 300%. Went from $1 to $3. Richard Grace let me know. That was a big raise. But if, you know, if we would just do it every year, just a fraction.
And we was doing that for a period of time. It's been almost 3 years since we did it. Like the electric, honestly, that rate needs to be somewhat left alone. We're in the middle to the bottom on it. But water is just, it's pathetic. Our tax levy, strangely enough, is really low. And whether, if we want to keep it that way, that's fine, but just understand, we can't do improvements other places might be doing if their rates, it's great to have a lower cost of living, but can you afford to keep up the streets and do the things that you have to do? That's the dilemma you get in. And that unnatural water rate has always been about green yards and people taking care of their stuff. Well, we're not taking care of our city if we don't have the money to take care of the water that's supplying those grassy yards. So anyway, we should get the water control system will be significant, but it just kind of motivated me forward into thinking we need to get this into a even decade situation, because you can see the writing on the wall on that, just like you can the electric, but you don't know it until it don't work. So anyway, talked to Ward Electric today. They plan on tentatively coming in August. Now, as I'd reported before, the streets is from July with a deadline of October. If they start in July, they're not going to be here still at the end of August, at least not full bore. They're going to be in here, getting out of here. I don't think overlapping them to some degree will hurt, and Ward wants to get here earlier rather than later, so we may just end up overlapping that a little bit. It's just the way it's going to work. The steps for the city office, Brock did not get me my drawings and estimate for the meeting this evening as he thought he would this morning. Maybe I'll have it in 2 weeks. In reference to our insurance on our recycled truck, the trash truck being run down to Stutzman and Hutchison, I went to the commissioner meeting and explained to him, I guess, how we needed to have it in the minutes. Is it good enough to have a contract where either city or county, where county employees, from our standpoint, are allowed to be insured and run the city's trash truck? They'll just be covered by their insurance at that time. Basically, what they put in on theirs when Roger and I was there, that said the city's insurance asked that the BOCC put in their minutes that if a county employee is driving the city trash truck, that they will be covered by the county's liability if there's an accident. They gave their approval at that time. So we're just simply going to, Lila's going to simply place this in the minutes. That's all we need for our insurance, but there's an understanding of who's covered while the county employee is driving the city truck, if that is to be the case. The only last thing I had on that property, I certainly didn't want to agitate somebody who thinks that who is of the understanding the pole's been there way too long, but part of the solution of that thing was the problem is the pole is in the adjacent property owner's property to support their line. I offered to put the pole in their property, which they didn't want it there. So the only other solution was to go up with this other side. It doesn't matter to me. It's going to be fixed soon. I am just trying everything we can not to have a pole in a backyard. But if it comes to that, it needs to be in their backyard. I just didn't want to have that debate this evening with her, but it'll get done. It'll be a situation where we raise the pole, it's not supportable, then the support, being either their mast or the pole that's in their yard, has to make that a sufficient service. Not a big deal, but that would be one adder I didn't debate it.
Is there danger in breaking?
It is completely broke. That's why it's tied up. So the wires hold it this direction, the guy wire ropes hold it the opposite direction. It's anchored down, and yes, it moves around. If it was to actually, one of the ropes was to come loose, then the wire would hold it up. That's just a 8 chance. I've really resisted setting another pole in someone else's yard to support somebody else's electric, and that's why it's been in this one. Anyway, I think it will work to go higher on the pole. I'm not that concerned with that.
They moved that garage in back behind that house years ago. I wonder if that's why that pole got put over there.
But that is such a band-aid fix for somebody to put a pole in somebody else's yard to get their power out of their house. It's just, I cringe every time we have one of these break in a storm or something, because yes, you can put them back up. Anyway, that's all I have.
by Cale, second by Darrell, all in favor, approved. Clerk report.
Okay. The Saturday Venue Operators Grant, I spent about 6 hours on Saturday trying to get all the paperwork necessary and figure out how to apply for that. There are a bunch of documents that the mayor has to sign. He is considered the owner because it's really geared towards businesses. So all the questions in there are business-geared questions. Some of them I can't even answer, and I'm going to have to try to figure out, what documents to provide that make us look like a business. They tell us that we are eligible to apply, but you can't submit this without filling in every blank. Anyway, there's a certification of need that he'll need to sign, a business license statement, which basically says we're a municipality, we don't need a business license. These are all documents. It's a federal grant, and I didn't have Lauren look at them because it's a federal grant. If you're not going to fill these out, you can't apply for the grant. I don't think there's anything unusual about them. They're just required forms, just like when we did the CDBG grant. So if you want to approve the mayor signing these, or I can send them with him and he can read them and decide if he wants to sign them, it's up to you guys. One thing that you do have to provide is your driver's license. Or a passport. Now, I do have, but they do require a copy of the business owner's driver's license. So if you're willing to provide that, then and sign these documents, then we can move forward with applying for that grant. So, if you want to pass these down. Yeah. If you have any questions on that, it'll probably take me another, 3 or 4 hours to get it figured out.
Just we'll sign for it and see what happens, huh? Does everybody agree with that? Sure.
You can put your signature on all those documents and then scan those in. The American Rescue Plan, J.R. kind of talked about it. They did release information today, just this afternoon, from the Department of Treasury. It's out there on the share. It's called the ARP Interim Final Rule. I did not read it. It's 151 pages long. I kind of scanned over it, and it does look like to me that we will be able to use some of these funds for infrastructure, water. I even saw the mention of streets in there, so I want to read. I would suggest everybody read it. So hopefully we can use that funding for things that will benefit us. The LMI survey, I need to get going on it if we're going to do it. One thing that I did find out from Justine is the census was last year in 2020. The census data hasn't been released yet. So as of right now, you have to have this LMI survey done to apply for grants. This survey will only be good until the census data comes out plus 1 year. So we may be looking at doing the survey again in another couple years. So JR recommended, and I think this is a great idea on those letters that are on the share that I composed, putting a statement in there to that effect that because of the way that the census falls or whatever, the survey may need to be repeated in another couple of years. But for right now, we still need to do it for funding, and we may need to do it again. So people don't say, well, you just did this 2 years ago, why are you doing it again? If you guys could take some time over the next couple of days and just look at those letters and let me know if they look okay to you. My plan is to put a blurb out on Facebook and in the newspaper just to let people know the survey's coming. Watch your mail. It'll be coming out here before too long. We just ordered envelopes today. As soon as those come in, I plan to work probably that, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that, and get them all done and get them in the mail on May 24th. And then set a deadline of June 15th for people to respond. That gives people 3 weeks to respond. Then we'll have to do a second mailing to those who didn't respond, give them another 2 weeks to respond to that, and then we'll have to start knocking on doors and doing phone calls. Justine would like to have all of this done by the middle of July, so that sounds like that's a ways off, but it's really not. So that's my plan. I will probably try to get Jen to work some overtime and help me out with this stuff in envelopes. So that's my plan. Let's see. The auditors were not on site like we expected them to be. A misunderstanding of what field work means, I guess. To me, that meant they'd be here, but I guess that's not what that means. But they are working on the audit. They're almost done with it. I haven't heard anything, any red marks or anything, and they'll present the audit report sometime in June. We have that copier, scanner, fax printer that we're not using in here, and I think I'd asked before if we could allow the Community Foundation to use that. Is that still okay? They were asking.
I don't know. Why not? Everybody agree with that? Yeah. Might as well let them use it.
Okay. I kind of expected the agreement to be here tonight, so I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so she's broken.
I sent her an email to let her know that it needed to be changed with the wording that you guys said needed to be changed. Just basically, every time it says Cheyenne County Community Foundation, it also needs to say
And affiliate of Greater Northwest Kansas.
yes, that. So I sent that to Lauren, but the foundation agreed to the agreement. So as soon as Lauren gets it done, we should be able to move forward with it. The locks, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Richie?
Yes. He got all the locks changed over there, and so we're good to go with that. So, yeah. I have a budget workshop Thursday. Out on the share are the grant award letters for the theater renovation and the concert in the park. I do need to request permission to make an out-of-cycle payment of our Kansas sales tax. Somehow that bill didn't end up in the bills that we processed this morning. So, and it does need to be paid, and it's $4,999.55. So I just need a motion to pay that out of cycle.
Motion to pay the sales tax out of cycle. Moved by Cale. Seconded by Derek. All in favor? Approved.
And then the welcome packets that Helen's been putting together for new residents, there's a little bit of a concern with those. We have had a person come in who's not a new resident and just asking for them because they want to hand them out at their church. I don't feel like that is, I feel like we in here should be handing those out to our new residents. And then Helen's concerned about it because they're going to her too and asking her for those welcome packets so that they can pass them out. And it seems redundant. You know, people are getting, we're not sure if they're putting their own things in them and then, you know.
Gotta watch those churches.
Well, you know.
Well, why can't we just tell the church just to send them down to us or to Helen?
So that was Helen's thing. You know, we kind of pointed out to her that she's funded by the county and the city, and those welcome packets are part of that. And I think she was looking for direction on what she could tell them, whether she should continue to give these out or just. We're not in here. We're just not, other than to residents.
I think it's her for people that's set up so those people can go in there and she can give them more information and talk to them about the town and the county and stuff. So
We kind of want it to work that way.
right, yes.
Yeah. The other way, I know why they're doing it that way. They could be the first to welcome the new people and possibly get them into the church.
Right.
We've done that forever. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
But, but yeah, it's kind of doesn't constrain what we're intending it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just going, if people are getting two of the same information, they're just going to throw it away, and that's a waste of resources. You know?
Yeah, I think they should be directed into Helen. She has a welcome package going down there. So, that's my opinion. What's everybody else think? Yeah.
Okay. And the only other thing, I need to request 5 minutes, not even, well, I will say 5 minutes of executive session for non-elected personnel for the pool employee wages.
And then I guess we could go back and warn on that. Contact Carla and then maybe, I don't know, Scott, is he the one that signs it?
Yeah,
On the lease?
Lease.
because otherwise the next meeting's not till the 24th, and I know you guys were hoping to get in there.
Yeah, I think, just for the sake of doing some cleaning, even if we have to prorate days or something, I mean, I think Carla was, something like that was good, even, 'cause we were hoping June 1st we could have our person at least, because we've got someone hired,
Right.
and so,
Good.
Good.
yeah.
Maybe we could have a motion to approve the agreement once she's made those corrections, because they're not really changing the contract, it's just adding that wording. And then, once it's done, we can just have the mayor sign it, and I feel like that would be appropriate.
Yeah. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the mayor signing the lease agreement?
I'll have to abstain.
Oh, then we don't have enough to do it. Oh. Well,
Well, haven't we already okayed it?
but it was,
Yeah, that's okay. We're just talking about the amending part of it.
did we vote on that? Okay, I'll go back and look at my minutes.
Well, I think we amended the price and changed all that,
And then gave it to them.
and then we okayed it, and we gave it to them to okay it. Yeah, I'll check and see, because if we've already went far enough along that we've agreed, that we all agreed and voted on what that was, then that should be all signed. They just changed some wording on it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that comes from Greater Northwest Kansas, after they reviewed it.
Okay,
Yeah, check and see.
I'll check that.
So that needed to be added.
And they also did say that they agreed to the half of her bill. Whatever we, the final on that. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Hear a motion to accept the file of purchase order.
Also,
Moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor. Approved. Okay, council comments. David?
just a couple real quick. The game warden evidently has all of those, I don't know what they are, but they shoot them off and it makes sounds and it scares the buzzes off the tower. I don't know how often they're doing that, and I don't know if they're hating me right now because they're having to do that. It doesn't really matter. I've had enough calls that I had to do something. Having said that, when you're talking about the water tower, and I would imagine we're looking at the water tower being there at least for the next decade, one of the things I was talking to a friend of mine, a mayor friend of mine in Mesquite, Texas, and he said their water tower suffers from the same thing. What they've done is they've got spikes that they've got, and he says quite common all throughout the country. I never even heard of it. Have you heard of such a thing where they keep buzzers off of the spikes?
Oh, yeah. Bird gardens.
So I don't know what kind of investment that would be and what kind of cost that would be, but that seems like it would be a whole lot easier to get the sheriff to go out there.
One of the issues with that is all the other stuff, the electronic stuff that's up there.
Right.
Like contractors, because that's what they said, there isn't even hardly a rail up there anymore.
Okay.
With all that
I
equipment.
can't imagine those contractors going up there with them buzzards. And what they leave isn't pleasant.
No.
Ugh.
So I don't know that that's realistic. If you look at actually where you could actually put them, because those things rise
Right.
above the rail,
Yeah.
which would be the perching place.
Right.
That's the reason, I've never thought of that, but I,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think.
That's all I have.
Nothing.
Well, let's look at the bills here real quick, and then we'll do the meter.
I know. Yes. Very good.
You will see the Zoom meeting on there. That was for April. It has been canceled, so you won't see that on there anymore after.
I just can't believe we wrote a check for 95 cents.
I had no choice. Some bills just have to be paid.
What all did he have to do to the truck to get it ready to haul the cardboard?
Quite a bit. We had a few leaks on it, and I wanted to go through all the rear end and everything. I mean, he did actually do quite a bit to it. There's a leaf spring that was broke on it. Oh, there's two. Really fixed the leaks and adjusted the compactor. We did putting new front tires on it too. They were DOT approval.
No time to, fair weekend, soapbox race.
Oh, he's talked to me about it, so racing, but
I think he was, asked about doing it after the parade, right after the parade. I don't think we're having a fair, this year.
I don't know.
I think they are.
Fair?
I think so.
I think they were this year.
Carnival and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd heard that they were planning on it.
Yeah.
They're going to start having some of the,
No, he talked to me. I sent him off to some other guys like,
Yes.
Travis Jensen and,
Yes.
Several of
Everybody
those
came,
guys that
yes.
got kids about that age.
trying to get to that if they did.
Love to do that.
Back out.
Right. I thought you went to the online one last year.
Walking the street,
You did this year.
college.
You didn't make it to
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I think if they get it set up and ready to go,
They
something
go in the
like
car, you ride in, and you just coast, it's all gravity.
It's just an annual thing, so,
Races.
but I'll check.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be fun if,
Have a bedroom class. Had a bedroom.
well, we had that years ago when,
Yeah.
when Russ and, what was her name, Joyce? Joyce Russ
Oh,
was
yeah,
in town.
yeah.
They had races out one time.
Fun
It
stuff.
only happened one year and they didn't do it again, so. Did anybody say anything? Do I hear a motion to approve the bills on ordinance 1050?
Also,
Moved by David. Second. Second by Cale, all in favor? Bill's approved. Okay, we need to do the 5 minutes,
You know, we could probably get it done in 2.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 minutes for non-personnel,
Non-elected personnel for wages.
non-elected personnel for wages. Is there a motion?
So,
Moved by Cale, second by Darrell, all in favor? Okay.
Coming out at,
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that. 9:03 or whatever.
okay. Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the wages as stated here?
So moved.
Moved by David,
second?
second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
And I'll just, for the minutes, I'll just say that those are the wages recommended by the
By
pool board.
Pool board, yeah. Do you want these back then?
Yes, I'll shred those.
Oh, we probably ought to give back that letter.
Yeah, that letter.
Anything that needs to be shredded.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Probably all the letters.
All of them.
Glad you said that.
This one too, probably.
No, that one's an open record. I mean, this one will be, because it wasn't an executive session.
That deal with Nathan, I mean, I understand his point too. She pushed his button, but he should have responded. He should have never responded and never done any of that stuff. And so,
Yeah, he signed off on that, thing that he gave us.
yeah. So that, at least we wanted to make sure that they had it documented.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have my driver's license with me, so I'll get that and bring it back down tomorrow.
Do you want to take those home and read them, or do you want me to just keep them here?
I'm not going to read it word by word.
I read over them, and they're assurances that we're not going to lobby. They're assurances that we're not going to misuse the funds. You know, they're just your
Yeah.
standard
Basic stuff.
I'll just
federal.
leave it here then.
Okay.
I'll make myself a note.
Scott, you will probably be contacting the lighthouse then
Yeah, I
regarding.
will. You want me to help tomorrow too. I helped him today. Once or twice a week's more than I want to
What
work,
you need to do, you're retired.
especially crying. And I know I'm going to help him on this project up there because he says, I'm not much of a painter. Okay. Well, that way it gives me some spending money so I
Spend
can
money.
leave town.
Exactly. Spend more money on your motorcycle.
Yeah, I rode it 2,500 miles in January and February and haven't been on it since.
Yeah. Better get on that thing.
January and February.
Oh, yeah, out there in Arizona?
Oh, in Arizona.
Yeah, not here.
Okay, that makes a difference.
Yep. 2,500 miles on it out there.
Well, somebody needs to make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Am I allowed to?
Okay, Kale, and then who?
I'm allowed to.
Sarah,
Yeah.
you were flying out the door.
Yes, we better